What completely legal things, when done in public, make you look like a psychopath? When entering an elevator, don't turn back around to face the exit. What was your school's huge scandal? In middle school, we had some rumors spread around that a certain gym teacher, Mrs. J, was peeping on girls undressing. These rumors spread and got pretty vicious. People started saying that Mrs. J tried to get girls alone in the locker room and had a type that she'd go after. We had a school-wide assembly where the principal berated the students for spreading these unsubstantiated rumors and how hurtful and disrespectful it was to Mrs. J and our teachers. 2 years later, Mrs. J was arrested for molesting 3 girls that year alone. Many other former students came out about similar experiences, some dating back 15+ years prior to her arrest. Edit, clarification. Edit 2, stop asking if this was in your state/city. I'm not telling you. When did sleep go from I can't wait to go to tomorrow to I'm too tired to exist right now? Around middle school, when things stopped being new and interesting and life turned into a tedious grind. It's more than likely that COVID-19 will still be around at Christmas time. How are we going to explain to kids that Santa is still allowed to go into millions of houses? Santa is magic. That being said, the poor elves took a huge hit from the pandemic, so there are less toys to go around this year. Strictly 1 per child or 2 between 3. Why do you like to be alive? There's an old man I sometimes visit who can talk your ear off for hours on end. You'll sit down with him, and he'll start to unload his stories, one after the other, of his old friends, his years in the radio industry, and his misadventures chasing women. Once, halfway through his usual ramble, he stopped, turned to me, and said, "You know what? Life is fun. And it stinks to know that I'm getting close to the end, because the whole thing's just been so damned fun." That's always stuck with me. It's my belief that the person who's had the most successful life is the one who, when it's all said and done, has the best stories to tell his grandkids. Police officers of Reddit, what are you thinking when you see cases like George Floyd? Absolutely sick to my stomach. I'm a lieutenant in my hometown police department. I started my day by showing the video to my officers and making sure my people understood that this is murder, plain and simple. You never, outside of a life and death struggle, do anything like this. George Floyd was handcuffed and on the ground. If he was still struggling badly enough that they felt a need to hold him down, there's 100 ways to do it safely. Use of force should always be as measured and considered as possible. There will always be times where an officer sees danger and has to make a split-second decision without the luxury of weighing the consequences. That clearly was not the case here. He had all the time in the world to think about what he was doing. He had multiple people there telling him to stop. and none of his fellow officers intervened. All of that is why I find this incident particularly disgusting. They had so many chances to do the right thing. Luckily, I have the fortune of working with good people who see this shit for what it is. Before the video was over, before I told them that George Floyd died because of this, my officers were muttering things like, "What the fuck is he doing? You can't do that shit and he needs to get off the man's fucking neck." Made me way prouder to be their leader than any number of arrests they could make to see that their instincts were not to defend the officer. For what it's worth, I'm glad that they were fired. I've heard mention in this thread that one of the officers has been arrested, which is great if true. I hope they're all brought to justice. Their actions, and lack thereof, were completely unconscionable. If COVID-19 wasn't dominating the news right now, what would be some of the biggest stories be right now? Astronomer here. We might have a bright naked eye comet next month in the northern hemisphere, our first since 1997. Comet C/2019 Atlas Y4 is brightening really quickly, and by May might be one of the brightest things in the night sky. I mean, comets are notoriously tricky to predict in brightness, as it might just break apart as it gets closer to the sun. But it's really exciting to think about, albeit no one has heard about it because of the pandemic, though granted, doesn't a pandemic need a bright comet? Edit, you might be able to get it in binoculars right now, or at least have fun trying. Here is a star chart for it. And yes, the last bright northern hemisphere great comet was Hale-Bopp, which was up for about a year to the naked eye. If you were a southern hemisphere resident in 2006, however, you probably remember Comet McNaught. Edit 2, because many are asking, that bright star in the evening sky is actually Venus. It's around its peak brightness and height right now, and you should go take a look if your social distancing allows it. Might as well take a break from Netflix and look at a whole nother planet. Edit 3, no, there is no chance of the comet hitting us or affecting life on Earth beyond potentially getting bright. People who are 40 plus and happy with their life, what is your advice to people in their 20s? I hesitate to give advice, being unqualified to do so. Instead, here are some points that may or may not be worthy of consideration. Time is very short, and as you get older it speeds up more and more. Time is more important than money. In theory, you could end up a billionaire. But nobody is ever a time billionaire. Rich or poor, you're gonna get maybe 100 years at the absolute max, and probably not that much. There will be several versions of you as you walk your path, but one version that kind of colors all the other versions. This version you could call the real you. It pays to spend time figuring out who that real you is. You will have to deal with people. Learn how to leave them happy to have been in your presence, and you will not lack for friends and loved ones. Speaking of loved ones, just because someone is a blood relative, it doesn't mean they're worth a shit. If your parent, sibling, or child is a complete asshole unworthy of your attention, don't waste further time on them. Find something you love to do, and do that. Do it every day. It doesn't matter if you make money at it, or get recognition because of it. Do it like Henry Darger did his writing and drawing, and like Vivian Mayer did her photography. Do good work. It is its own reward. I am a geezer, 64 years old. It does not have to suck being old. I think it's fucking great, for many reasons. If you're ever in my town, drop by and get on my lawn.
And then she kissed my face, yeah. I'm falling